about basketball players. Even though, I've never really been too much of the guy that likes to get in people's personal business off the court and things like that. That's just really not my thing. I'm more of an on the court, X's and O's, clipboard type dude. But what I will say is that I think that it is highly disrespectful to your colleagues, to the guys you're going to war with every single night, no matter what color uniform that you're putting on, no matter what franchise you're representing, because you are representing a brotherhood amongst all people that play in it, and everybody's got families to go home to at the end of the day, and you want to be keeping not only yourself safe, but other people safe. So, why are you out there texting and driving and not thinking about, you're just being selfish and thinking about yourself? And I'm not saying he was texting and driving, but Yes. With that being said, I don't think anybody's questioning James Harden because I saw him come back and hit 44 points and 17 rebounds or 17 assists or something crazy like that. Nobody's questioning James Harden from an on-the-court standpoint for all the people who had jokes about the way he picked up and whatever else. But he's just a natural-born and gifted scorer that way. But his personal business is his personal business. What he said is what he said. If he wasn't in these places, he wasn't. If he was, then he was. But I will say this much in terms of him continuing to be a Houston Rocket and demanding the trade and so forth. I'm not mad at the man because he got a family to feed, and we all want to be happy in the process of feeding our family. So I'm not mad at that. He doesn't owe us a damn thing. But how I see it is that I think it's a matter of them just, if he wants to be traded and he wants to go elsewhere, get rid of him already. I'm sure there's going to be some financial things in between there that maybe they can work out or maybe they can't work out. And I'm not all the way sure of exactly that. But what I will say is that, listen, if I'm not begging no chick, okay, to be here and assist me in building something that I'm trying to put in place and trying to establish a foundation together. If you're not with it, we'll roll out the red carpet. We'll put on our white usher gloves, and there goes the door, and you can see your way out. But I'm not begging for you to stay.
Amen.
It wouldn't surprise me, and again, this isn't something I know, but I just get the feel. It wouldn't surprise me if James Harden went elsewhere, teamed up with all these players, and end up having a feel of something like a Clippers or something like that, where you have all these high expectations and then you don't succeed because you don't have that established chemistry and so forth. Meanwhile, Houston goes on with their business the way that they should as usual. And while they may not get to the playoffs or may not be extremely successful, they probably meet or exceed the expectation that most people would have for them without James Harden because of the fact that they have the guys that are bought into what they're trying to build there. So I know that that's a lot to take in, but that's just kind of the feel that I get in the way that I think that Houston should look at this. And again, I don't blame James Harden. If you don't want to be somewhere, in the same time, about a relationship, why stay in a relationship? If you know what I mean, if you're not in agreement for what's trying to happen. So I think mutually they just need to part ways, and then both of them work hard to show the other that they were going to come out on top and be winners and refuse to lose.
Tate's take. Couldn't have said it any better. Couldn't have said it better. No, I don't think anyone's questioning, his talent on the court. I mean, the dude's averaging 37 points per game, which is just absurd. And I just think the way he's handling himself as a veteran in this league, as one of the best players in this league, it's almost like hurting his stock. It's like almost hurting his reputation a little bit. But let's stick in the West. So we just had Steph Curry drop 62 points, a career high, just reminding everybody he's the greatest shooter, in my opinion, of all time. The Golden State Warriors were in a very unique position right out the gate with Klay's injury. So you draft Wiseman, who looks to be promising, like, hey, this guy can be really nasty. I almost thought they should maybe draft LaMelo considering Klay's injury to help create with Steph. But granted, I like that pick either way with Wiseman. What is your takeaway of the criticism Steph has received? Do you think it's fair where, hey, okay, when Klay was healthy, they were right in that conversation of a threat to the Lakers. You had the Clippers, you have, of course, the Nuggets, and then they're like, hey, the Warriors with Klay healthy, you got Draymond, you got Wiseman, you got Steph, you got Wiggins. They were right in that conversation. So now that Klay gets injured and they've seemed to just fall off completely, especially like the way they opened the season, Do you think it's fair, the criticism that he's received? And do you think it's still early and they can turn it around?
Well, last time I checked, Steph was light skinned, so I'm all in on that. But outside of that, uh, um, there's going to be people that are going to give that criticism just because the fact that any time that a team or a player or anyone in general is successful, the hate is always going to come with it.
Yeah.
There's always going to be those people that are going to question him, or I think at one point it was his Christianity. And I hope people aren't questioning what type of basketball player he is. We're talking about a 2-time MVP. I think last time I checked, it was in back-to-back years. The greatest shooter that any of us have ever seen. I didn't see people shooting from the logo before Steph Curry did, consistently rather, and on fast breaks and so forth. I saw this coming long ago. I saw it coming the first eyes on him at Davidson. I knew it, and it just really reminded me much. And this is where I understood the comparisons with Trae Young, because I felt the exact same way. And it was a feel thing.
Right.
And that's something that he has for the game. It's a natural ability. It's natural talent. He may not have the athleticism. He may be somewhat of a liability on defense and have to be hidden sometimes. He went through his injury issues with the ankle and so forth. But, it's one of those things. It's crazy because I have a cousin that lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he told me long time ago, he said, hey, I want to tell you about this dude, right? And his name is Stephen Curry. You know Dale Curry? And I said, yeah, it must be his son or nephew or something. He said, yeah, that's his son. Listen, this real ball player, okay? He's going to this school called Davidson. He's coming straight out of high school. I've seen him a couple times and whatever. He's the real deal. Now, when you see him, I'm telling you off the rip, you're going to think he's a little kid, okay? But outside of that, when you see him, I know the type of eye for talent that you have, and you're going to fall in love with this dude. And that's exactly what happened. And so he's kind of transitioning, taking that from Davidson over to the NBA, and not only won the awards, but in terms of, I don't know why people were doubting him, is where I'm really getting at, to be honest. And I understand why people were doubting the team, because a lot of people saw some, I wouldn't say true colors, but exactly who Draymond Green was without those guys last year partially. And that's when your Eric Paschal and some of those other guys kind of had to step in. Obviously, like you said, Wiseman looks good as a rim runner, rim protector, amongst other things, and being the energy guy. I agree with you to an extent when you mentioned something about LaMelo Ball potentially, only because of the fact that with Sean Livingston going out, I really thought that could potentially be a spot that he could fill as a young Livingston. If you remember back before the really injury to Sean Livingston, they reminded me so much of each other at that point guard spot with their size, their ability to handle the ball at such a size and so forth. But I think that the Warriors are going to be okay when you have somebody who is a bona fide winner. You have someone that every team needs on their roster, like a Draymond Green, the heart and soul and the glue of the team to keep all the pieces together and whatever till Clay gets back. The problem is that they are in the West. But I think eventually and ultimately they will be okay. They didn't win just championships because they had this great roster put together. They did it because they had really good coaching. They did it because they had good chemistry. They had natural born winners on their team, and that's one reason why I think they'll be fine.
Right. No, and I really do agree there as well. This is the interesting one. So I'm really interested to get this perspective, your perspective on this. So we transition into this like new look NBA. LeBron James, I think this is the best roster that he's had in his career. And I know people are like, oh, come on, look at Miami. I think Anthony Davis could be his best teammate he's ever had. Doesn't mean Anthony AD's better than D Wade all time, but just considering where AD's at in his career is literally entering his prime at his prime. And then of course we all know the additions that they've made, the Montrez and the Schroeders and the Matthews and whatnot, and the Marc Gasols. I think this is the deepest roster he's ever had. And so I said, I had a bet with Rob Parker, actually. He ended up getting me 40 wings. I said, the Lakers are going to win the championship. And he was like, the Clippers. I'm like, okay. So I won the 40 wings, and I got to make up another bet with Rob. But what I'm getting at is I think the Lakers are going to repeat. I'm not saying that as a Bron guy. I'm not saying that as just a Lakers guy. Just what I see and the roster that I look at, I just think the Lakers are going to repeat. And for me, it's who's coming out of the East. And I've said this from the beginning. I think it's going to be Brooklyn. Now, I'm not a big believer in Brooklyn, though, because just because you have an accumulation of talent, we saw this with the Clippers, doesn't mean that it works with leadership, doesn't mean it works with chemistry off the court. But talent can take you very far. And you have arguably the most talented guy in the league in Kyrie and KD. So what are your thoughts on the Brooklyn Nets thus far? And on that note, your thoughts on the Lakers as well. So we'll start off with the Nets, though, because obviously Brooklyn isn't off to the best start. They're having a little bit of a rocky start. They show flashes of just brilliant basketball, and then other times just the inconsistency. But that's new when you get an accumulation of talent. So long story short, what are your thoughts on the Brooklyn Nets, KD, Kyrie, and that fit?
Well, I'm going to say this first. I really hope our buddy Rob is paying attention, because not only did he owe you some wings, but because I took the Lakers too, where he took the Clippers, like you just said. We've got a nice, enjoyable night to look forward to at a particular gentleman's club where we can get some Lou Lemon Pepper wings. So outside of that fact, again, you mentioned some really good points. Obviously, we're comparing them to the Clippers, and everybody's going to automatically look at, these two superstars. Plus, Brooklyn really does have some really good pieces still around them. When you start looking at guys like Jared Allen, obviously, and Karis Bird, Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot was really good for them last year in the bubble, and so I got to see more, from a team like that. I just have to see more. It's more a matter for me of just being the person. I'm a show me person. I'm not from Missouri. I'm not from the show me state, but I am a show me person. I have to be shown. And it's possible that it can happen that way. Now, as far as LeBron and the Lakers go, listen, where we talked about before, LeBron and MJ connecting, okay? MJ kept a lot of guys from getting rings. And while LeBron hasn't always done that, this could be one of those situations where he could keep some really talented guys from getting rings. Seeing them go back to back and repeating once again, I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility. I think that that's something that's somewhat expected. He's inarguably the best player in the NBA right now. And there's always somebody that's trying to put another player over him. At one point it was this player and that player, or whether it be Wade, or whether it be Kawhi Leonard. And then after Kawhi Leonard, I was hearing Giannis, and then after Giannis, people are going to start talking about Luka. Listen, the dude's at the top, okay? He is the face of not only that franchise, but he is the face of the organization right now. If LeBron says that we want to resume the league, then they're going to resume the league, and I think that there has been proof of that. He's picking his players and so forth. So I think that that's something that is realistic. I think that that's something that's going to happen. Would it surprise me if the Lakers didn't win the championship? That wouldn't surprise me. But that would be certainly a bigger surprise than if they went back to back.
Yeah. No, that's very well put. The last thing I have for you here, Deshaun Tate joining me, Tates Take the Podcast, analyst, reporter, basketball guru, would be, if I were to ask you right now, because like I said, I think LeBron's been the face of the league for quite some time. I still think he is. We're so quick to say, this guy. But let's just LeBron retires. So now we can officially say he's no longer the face. Who do you foresee as the next face? Because I think we've been very lucky in basketball to go from like the Jordans to the Kobes to the Duncans and then Bron. Who is it for you? For me, it is Luka. Who is it for you?
I think fine, I won't use the term easy, but I think that it is an international player. And I think that player is Luka. One of the reasons why I believe that he has been successful is because this game has slowly begun to transition into the way that it was played internationally for so many years. And I mean, I really believe that it won't be long. We're probably looking at about 2 years, maybe, about him being the best player in the NBA. A 7 seed last year, I think that they'll be much better than that this year. They've got a coach that is obviously championship caliber. He's won one before already. I think that it's Luka. And I listen, I'll be the first one to tell you, raise my hand so you can see it. Because as much as I like to be the brainiac of basketball and all other type of things, because I put in so much wear and tear when everybody else is asleep, Max, I'm up with my head inside the encyclopedia, and I'm up doing my research and studying. But I wasn't a Luka guy. You know, I was the one that was saying, obviously take Trey. In some ways, I would still say that if I never see
Yeah.
it before, I'd still say that because I am a little biased to American basketball of what I get a chance to physically see with my own eyes. And a lot of people don't really talk about. Everybody talks about Luka and all the players that has been successful coming from the international level, but nobody hardly ever talks about the international players that come over and are unsuccessful. And while I don't really want to think too much about Darko Milicic during those years because I am a Piston guy, I definitely want to mention that one. But even more so, the fact that dude's a ball player. Okay, I think he's more of a liability on defense than people talk about. He gets away with it a little bit more. He's a lot bigger guy and so forth. I was even one of those guys that said, maybe take Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic. Like that was this dude, you know. But one thing I can't do, and I feel like it's a lot easier to do this than to consistently try to shy away from it and come up with different excuses and different things for why Luka isn't the guy. I was wrong, and I'm okay with being a man and still that dude. And while I do still respect a lot of the other players that I put in front of him, not only do I believe that he is the front runner for the MVP still, in my opinion, as of right now, there's only been about 7 games or so played, but I think that he's going to be the best player in this league probably sooner than later.
Deshaun, you and I look at the game very, very similarly because he was my MVP pick. We both won the bet with Rob Parker with the Lakers. We both Trey Young guys. The only thing you and I disagree with is LeBron and Jordan Bay. That's okay. That's okay. We can still be friends. We can still talk.
Max, let me ask you this real quick before we get off. Is that your bet? Is that your best player ever? Is that your GOAT?
Yes.
Okay, so here's my question. How can I say that this guy is the best player ever when I can say that he's the best Laker ever? Like, how does that one work? I'm still trying to think. Maybe you can answer that one. I'm not trying to.
I got you.
No, but I'm just kind of curious.
I got you. Okay, so I look at it as a business. So say you have a new guy that comes into your office building and his sales are through the roof. He turns the company around. Is he the best employee you've ever had there? Maybe not, because he wasn't there the longest. He didn't work there for 10 plus years, but he's clearly the best employee in the building. But he may not have been there like the manager that's been there for 20 years who had the store open. I just think I think it may just be preference. I think it's more impressive to see somebody go to multiple companies and turn the business around than somebody to be super successful at one company. Because I feel like if you can do it to multiple companies, you're clearly the common ingredient, or you have the recipe that you carry with you to multiple buildings. So at the downfall to that is, to your point, though, you'll never be that specific organization or that specific company's best employee ever because you weren't there as long as others. Obviously, Cleveland he is. But I'm just more impressed with that. And I don't know if it's a personal thing, but I guess that would be my answer to that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the guy has to be perfect either. I'm not sure I've ever met a perfect person. I guess to kind of bump off of that a little bit is, while I do respect, obviously, your opinion, and I guess my thing is one thing we can't do is we can't erase or disregard the lack of success that he had at some of those companies. We can definitely pinpoint the successful moments when he won championships, but there's also those others where he didn't. So I definitely want to make sure that we kind of find some middle ground. I think we can kind of, whether you call it agree to disagree or disagree or whatever the case may be. But you obviously have a really good point with that. And everybody's got their own personal goats. I mean, think about it. A lot of people weren't around to see Michael Jordan. A lot of people, the only thing they know about Michael Jordan is tennis shoes and so forth. And there will be, as crazy as it sounds, and I'm not trying to put a ton of age on you or anything like that, Max, but there will become one point in time where somebody will come along, and prepare yourself for this. Some young man is going to come along and say, hey, this guy over here is the GOAT. And you're going to be like, wait a minute, over LeBron? Are you crazy? Are you kidding me? Sound absolutely ridiculously crazy because that new guy that all the young kids, all the cool kids are talking about is not going to be able to measure up. But everybody's going to pound it in your head that he is. And then you'll mention Michael Jordan and they won't know who the hell you're talking about. So, but
It works. That's how it works.
By any means, because we're all trying to enjoy our youth right now in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking younger by the day. You look younger than the last time I spoke to you. So,
Come on. Hey, listen, I need to borrow your hair, dude. That's what I need. I need some TV hair. I need to some of Max Van Auken's hair. So I can put a little money in my pocket, man. Get some more opportunities in front of the camera, bro.
Man, I'm just trying to be like you, Deshaun. So, Deshaun Tate, please, where can they find you? Instagram, Twitter, your podcast. One of the best basketball minds in the business. I truly mean that. Where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
Thank you much, man. I really do appreciate it. Anywhere and everywhere on social media, at Tates Take Hoops. That's TATES TAKEHOOPS hashtag. We like to call it where basketball lives. If we're talking, 94 feet long, 50 feet wide, 22 feet, 1 and 1.25 inches out on the perimeter for college, and 23 feet, 1 3/4 inches out on the perimeter for NBA. Then we're talking any and everything basketball, man, on the podcast. Find it anywhere you find your favorite podcast: iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Red Circle, Stitcher. We stream live on Facebook. We stream live on YouTube as well. Just hover over that little magnifying glass on the search box and just type in Tate's Take. It should pull right up. Please subscribe, leave a review, comment, the whole nine. Anything that you want to do, man. It's just what I like to call the best, the most informational, the most educational basketball content in the form of a podcast. So find it anywhere you find your favorite pod, and I appreciate any and everybody that supports. Go and subscribe.
There you go. I got to get like you, man. I don't have that pitch like that. I'm like, yeah, go check it out over there. But no, I appreciate.
Good. No, it's all good. Like people always tell me, listen, you got to crawl before you walk before you jog before you run, sprint, marathon, the whole nine. It's a domino effect, man. But you're getting there. I'm getting there. We can all improve in different areas. Anything you need from me so that you can do such, you already know my number. And let's just continue to just keep on building relationships and working together, man. I'll meet you at the top. I'm sure you'll get there before me. So I'll meet you up.
No, yeah. Either way, we're gonna be helping each other up that mountain. Deshaun Tate, thank you very much for your time. You stay safe. You'll be on the podcast again very soon. But until then, we'll talk soon.
Thank you much. Appreciate you, Max.